Welcome to Dancing with the Bards. My name is Ian, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Will.
Hello.
Chris.
Howdy.
And Brooke.
Hey.
Along with our guest for this week, Nick.
Hello.
Today we'll be covering a cooperative role-playing game called Fiasco, published by Bully Pulpit Games in 2009. This award-winning role-playing game requires only 2 sets of 6-sided dice, and requires very little pre-game setup. Between that and a mountain of different settings, Fiasco has gained a large following in the tabletop game community. This game is based heavily on roleplay, and allows for all of the characters to navigate the story together, so there is no game master. With the basics out of the way, let's get started.
Could not have been more robotic with that delivery. But understandable. There is a lot to talk about. Did we want to get any first impressions out of the way first and then go into our grading system?
Yeah, I like the module we played. We played cross-Atlantic?
Transatlantic.
Transatlantic. I mean, Ian was my dad. How can I go wrong with that?
This is fair.
I'm a great dad. No, I was a terrible father.
I played the
No, I mean, all in all, you were very supportive father. Yeah. You even tried to keep the sword cane away from me. Like you were doing a good job.
I was playing son to the Monopoly Empire, Frank Fiasco, and I had my best bud, the captain, and then my other bud, Gambling Man. So if you guys wanted to go over your characters, I simplified them to as much as my character perceived them.
We can get into that as we talk about the character creation.
I guess it's true too.
Yeah, and I don't know. I personally enjoy the game, but we get into that as well. Starting with number of players, 3 to 5 for this game is what they recommend, and based on our playthrough with 5 people, I feel like that's pretty good point to set, because any more than that and it would have taken a lot longer, I think.
Mm-hmm. Especially with all the connections and all of the scenes that everyone does.
It'd get wild.
And also, I guess with 5 it works best because you don't have to add more dice.
Yeah, because you said there was a set amount of dice,
Yes.
and regardless of the amount of players.
Yeah. Each for a certain amount of players, there's 2. Let's say black and white, 2 white die, 2 black die per person. So it would be 4 times whatever, how many people.
Okay, so 20 dice in total for 5 people, but there would be
16 for 4.
Yeah.
And 12
Oh,
for
okay.
3.
I thought it was the same for okay.
Yeah.
I guess that keeps everything even.
Yeah, that's how we were able to, for the character creation, use up all the dice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and for the scenes.
I do feel like it's definitely how I envision number of players is less so if it's a correct number of players, and more so in regards to if it's something that I would feel would be better if there could be more, or like if that's a bad way of putting it. Basically, I do wish this game could be played with more people. But unfortunately 3 to 5 is really the absolute maximum you can hit with its rule sets and the amount of time allotted you have for the game. So I didn't necessarily give it a great score, but I didn't give it an awful score. 1.5 on my part.
Okay. I think if you put any more players, even if you tried to scale up the way they did, I feel like the more players you have, it would just get so bound in on itself with like the different relationships and the needs. I feel like it would turn into a telenovela pretty quickly.
What if that's exactly what I wanted?
Well, then yeah, okay. If you want a telenovela, then it'd be you could do that. I just feel like it would get you'd have to write notes.
Brooke, I want to be on Caso Cerrado.
There's probably a place up for that.
We should check. That would be kind of
There was a housewife setting.
Yeah, there was a
So you could
Hollywood
get
Wives.
okay. I think Chris, we know what we're doing. It's
reality
Oh,
TV
Christ.
feel for it. I gave it a 3. Number of players, as I always say, 3 to 5 is my sweet spot.
Well, I did too for number of players. I think it'd be fun if there was more people and there was a system to, I guess, make it more manageable with like more of a D&D group. No, if you want to play with your friends in that setting instead of like half of them or a smaller portion. But I think they set out to do a small number of people game, and that's what they did. And that's how
Very fair.
Yeah.
Going into inclusivity. So one of the things we should talk about real quick was when we were going over some of the modules. I will say they're very unapologetic. Is I think the best way I would state how they look into the relationship attachments, 1, and 2, how they wrote the book. There's a lot of vulgarity in it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this is definitely not for all ages, and especially if you're trying to run it for the first time, you're looking through the book. And while I won't say that the way that they introduced concepts that might be offensive to people are in bad taste, I think it would be something you definitely would want to make sure your players are aware of before you go over it.
Yeah, this is a great reminder of if you're playing TTRPGs, you should probably have a conversation about like your limitations, like those safety. What are they?
Safety rules.
Safety rules, yeah, or just like
Yeah.
just knowing your players well. This is definitely some of these you need to know your players to know what's going to be received well.
A group of good friends.
Yeah. Well, not even good friends, just knowing each other to the point where, like, the one set that you guys showed me, I probably wouldn't have been comfortable with. Like, what was the other one?
Mission to Mars.
Mission to Mars. I probably wouldn't have been
Mission
comfortable.
to
Mercury. I probably wouldn't have been comfortable with that set.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been either. That's why we switched to the transatlantic.
Yeah.
I didn't actually read that. What was the scenario?
For one of the
relationships,
it was
ugly,
Ugly, yeah.
and it had stuff like different bigotry.
Oh,
sexist,
Jesus, yeah, that would have been-
racist,
Yeah, and
We would literally just be
Homophobic.
playing with one less
homophobic
thing.
with another big
yeah, we wouldn't have picked those things, but it
Yeah.
definitely being there. I know some of our friends would have picked that, even though the rest of us weren't comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely knowing your group's limitations is important for
Yeah.
these.
I just wanted to break the illusion a little bit. We did talk about this in advance last night, and that was one of the things that we had brought up was in this group. We know that it is a very, very safe environment. However, I feel like in a lot of other scenarios, if you gave people those options, even if it wasn't intentionally being done in a hurtful way, it just opens up a lot of issues or inter-party issues that could lead to further problems down the line. So that is something to consider.
If you haven't had that conversation with your group, you should definitely have the conversation with your group on what hard lines are for people, or even yellow lines.
yes.
I want to say what is the beauty of this game, that these sheer amount of play sets, you will find something that will suit your needs. So if you're playing with a group of strangers and you're not sure of, there will be probably some kid-friendly ones. So, I would say I put inclusivity for 1, because I was wavering between 1 and 2, but I was thinking the sheer number of options that there are out there, you will find something that will cater to your particular needs and for playing this game.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot, actually. I gave it 1.5 for the same reason. Because when we were planning this, you gave us like 20 to 30 different like play sets that we could have gone through. Yeah. So there were obviously some that I wasn't super jazzed about, but there were also a lot of ones that looked really interesting. So there's a wide variety of different ones that you can really go for, even though you might not be a huge fan of a certain majority of them.
Yeah, and those are what I listed, and I kind of went overboard with that, honestly. Those were the pre-made. Those were the ones that came in the official packs. If you go onto that website, there's a website where all these homebrewed ones are made for something that's completely different. That's where you can. I could have posted those too, but now I think about it. There would have been something you might have took a fancy to.
Yeah, I don't think any of it was done with bad intentions, and it's not like it's in every module.
Correct.
It's just in a few of them, and I just wanted to bring that up for the purposes of
Posterity's sake.
Yeah, well, that and just to be upfront and clear about these things. I don't think they did it with bad intentions. I just think that it's something that might upset some people. So I would just look through these ahead of time before you play, because there are a lot of them for the modules.
Yeah, don't assume that all of them are friendly for everyone.
Yeah.
There are some T for teens in these E for everyone games.
Yeah. And in that case, it reminded me a little like I was looking through some of them after finding that out. And it felt like it gave me the feeling of Spyfall, like the parts I didn't like in Spyfall, where it was like there were a lot of stereotypes going on. But that's a personal thing that just kind of ekes me. So.
Yeah. I mean, these settings a lot of them are based on film. Yeah. And in film, you have a lot of those kinds of tropes that reduce things to those elements. And it does show through. I know some people like those kinds of things. I'm not trying to pick a side either way. I'm just letting everyone know that it's there.
If you had the problems with Spyfall that I had the problem with Spyfall, maybe look through these carefully.
That said, we should probably move on to comprehension.
This was good. This was really good. It was straightforward for me. I liked it. The font wasn't egregious either. Like, even their fun font I can read with some ease.
Yeah. Yeah, rule comprehension. I looked through the documents you sent me, Nick, and it's all pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Just look it up and you'll easily be able to show you how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty easy to read, and the important sections have larger font, so it's a lot easier to read those separate from the actual rules or setting itself. So we had a printout of our adventure path, and we just very easily flipped between the different pages, and I didn't have any issues. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Reading through, I did give it a 2, just because reading through the main rulebook, it felt like Jason Morningstar was yelling at me.
Yeah, there was some vulgarity in that part.
Like he's somehow angry at me for reading his book. So, there is some confusion there, and I feel like that takes away from it a little bit. Mm-hmm. I get what he was going for, and it is fun, but for a rules comprehension, maybe a little overboard.
Yeah.
Okay, for materials, you don't have to listen to me this time because we weren't able to get the physical copy in time, so you don't have to hear me drone on about paper quality.
Just
every place I went to go get this book from, every time we got it shipped, there was a massive delay on it.
I will let you know it did arrive at about 10 today.
So after we left.
Damn it.
That said, it's a standard softcover book, 132 pages, rather small, and...
Can you compare it to, like, Webster Dictionary or, like, of the size of the book?
It says here it's 6-inch by 9-inch.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I was able to get a full description from a few articles of the actual book itself for Brooke's sake.
Yeah, well,
I tried.
He quoted a Wired article, and I'm sorry, I'm not trusting a tech company's perfectly bound statement because I don't know why a tech company would know anything about bookbinding.
The game itself requires you to have 20 d6s as well, and up to 20 d6s, even 12 d6.
Different colors.
Yeah.
It's not a big ask, but it's not something everyone's gonna have. Like someone would probably have to go out and buy a Chessex set or 2 Chessex sets for this, which Chessex dice are kind of expensive for what they are.
I mean, you can get 4 packs of dice at the dollar store.
That's true. Walmart or just about anywhere that sells.
So you can get them less. It's just that we are Dice Goblin and want nice dice at all times.
I mean, my first thought of getting 10 d6s is the Chessex cubes that come with
See, that's us because we play a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
But you can get the casino dice at
cheap.
Walmart and stuff pretty cheap.
Different colors.
It's just they have black and white for those. It's just they just don't feel good in the hand.
Fair enough, yeah. So I gave it a 2 for materials. Overall, pretty good. Definitely some room for improvement, but overall not. They're pretty decent.
Well, I mean, the new release that they had with the, what was it, GoFundMe or Kickstarter? It came with the...
Yeah, so that's slightly separate, I think. It's the same game, kind of, but it comes in like a card form.
Mhm.
So I don't think it plays the same as the actual role-playing game does.
It does,
doesn't
it just
seem to.
came with the materials that otherwise... I know I had to bring note cards and pens.
Yeah. Oh,
It
so
comes with that, and I think dice too. I'm not sure though. But preset with the original rulebooks settings. So
Okay.
if you want to do any other set, I don't think you can.
So it's just a simplified version of the four original sets.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can have the cards, and you can choose. Here's the relationships, and put it down.
So for materials, we did have to have index cards as well, right?
Yeah.
Pens for everyone, index cards. You should have those.
Mhm.
You could definitely use just normal paper too. So that's the dice are the main issue with the amount of stuff, and then I guess the printouts.
Just for me personally.
Yeah. Do you has anyone tried looking at this? Like, I know you can look at a computer, but is this formatted in a way that you could use a phone too? Do you think? I'm looking at the sizing of the.
Yeah, I mean, I've read off the tilt and our conclusion, our aftermath from my I didn't print it out because I didn't really think of it.
Okay. Yeah, so that's just a nice feature because sometimes they don't do that where you can read it easily on phones.
At least I could.
Okay, so at least your phone it worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And the other question that I had was, oh no, the fog brain. I'll remember it halfway through and ask it to you later.
Okay, that's on our editor.
I will say on one of the RPG subreddits, someone did post a link to a website where you can get the setup for each of the adventures, as well as just like a character creation-esque zone for like the dice and whatnot. So
Okay,
made, like, an actual app for it.
Yes, thank you. That was my other question. Do you think you could use digital dice for this?
I actually have because this is the first time I ever played in person. I set up a Roll20 just for Fiasco in the past. Now the camera setup was a little bit wonky, but it had to enable everyone as a GM to influence, move stuff around and move cameras around.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't run this digitally.
Yeah,
And
so
not
it was
very
just-
easily.
I was just wondering,
but
for
I
the
had
sake
to,
of
I had to write each dice number down. But
yeah, I mean, but you could. So if you
yeah.
didn't want to buy the casino dice, but you did not want to invest in ChessX yet,
I should also
there is
note,
an option.
As someone who ran a 3-year-long Roll20 campaign, Roll20 does have a native option where if you're rolling dice in their dice roller, you can click and drag and move that image of a die specifically for whatever number it rolled onto the map.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it would definitely work if you didn't want to do.
yeah, I was able to
things.
pass the dice to like we did.
Okay.
Moving on to setup. I really enjoyed the setup for this game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the best parts, honestly.
It took the parts that I didn't like of Upwind and took it away. So like I didn't like Upwind was very separate from each other, where it was an active participation of everyone.
Yeah, it is literally part of the game.
Yes.
Before you play, so.
Which is why we were debating on whether we were streaming it or not.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
Me too.
And when I was reading through the reviews and the about section for Fiasco 2, I kind of decided that we were going to do it on the stream, only because it's one of the things that they push as one of the big aspects of their game is the collaborative setup.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured it would be good to add that into the stream itself. I gave it a 3 for setup. I really did enjoy it.
I'll be honest, if I ever run a D&D campaign, we might be doing something similar in the beginning where we have Fiasco style roles and such.
I will say it's very reminiscent of when you build characters in, what was it? Not Call of Cthulhu, it was Monster of the Week.
Okay.
Where each person has like a relationship
Yeah.
with one of the other characters.
I just like this also included other items as well where you could. So I think I definitely would homebrew something into this. I really enjoyed that aspect of the game.
there is something else that I would say in regards to this. So throughout the character creation process, it goes in, I guess technically speaking, we did it counterclockwise, where you would have the person to your right then make the character connection. Because of that, I did end up very last in terms of building connections at that point. And the way that we were doing it is that you start with a broader category for each person's connection, and then you build on that for the next round, and then do another broader category for the round thereafter, and then expound on that afterwards. So every single round, I was the last person to pick, so I kind of didn't really get a choice in which relationship that I built, except for the last round where I had a wild card, but then I could only exemplify on a pre-existing relationship.
Now, just theoretically, I'm having a very specific image. You're going to come on this journey with me.
Oh,
do you know the game in the arcade that used to spin around and you try and get the light to stop in one of the gates?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what if, just like that, in that game where it went around to that spot and wherever you hit, it went back the other way? So instead of doing counterclockwise the whole way, once we get to the end, we then go clockwise. So
that was one of the suggestions I was going to make, but we were already so deep into it that I didn't want to say anything. If after one cycle, it starts with the person who went last. Who
yeah,
then
that's
goes
what
to
I'm
the
saying.
next
So
one,
then
I don't think it's explicitly said to do it counterclockwise or clockwise. I think that's just the way play games, We just get in that rhythm.
Yeah.
I don't want to play reverse Uno and then all of a sudden forget who you're supposed to pick next, but
that's it. We'll play Uno to figure out who gets to give.
One of the things that stuck out to me when I was reading through the setup was the way that they suggested to do who started character creation was whoever grew up in the smallest town.
Yeah.
Oh no, we all grew up in the same town.
Excuse you. Hello, Meriden.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, technically it's Danbury, Brookfield, and Meriden, but
I think Meriden is
Did
the
you grow up in
smallest.
Danbury?
Yep. Born and raised.
oh, so I would be the smallest.
Elementary school.
That'd be me.
What?
Who went to the smallest elementary
I
school?
went to Mill Ridge.
I can
King
beat
Street,
you all.
so-
My graduating class in 8th grade was 13.
That's middle, not elementary.
Elementary school, we had 20 in the whole grade level.
Yikes.
Catholic school.
But yeah.
This is not like my Catholic school. We had 120.
Well, that's because you were Danbury.
This wasn't in Denver. This was in New York.
It was in New York?
Melrose. I don't remember.
Okay,
Remember what
well-
state you went to school at?
Well, Brookfield's small, and our Catholic school was even smaller. So,
Nope, it was Colorado.
okay.
But
So,
that's the only thing that I
setup
care
was
about.
great. Rate of play, I enjoyed it the whole way through. I always end up on my phone because I need some kind of focus. So one of the things that I try and curb very much is that I tend, because of the ADHD, to insert myself in every possible conversation because I get way too excited. Everything's so exciting and I want to be part of it. So I have to be on my phone or doing something else so I don't just be that person.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for this game, you could, and it would make things, it would change things a bit,
Yes, but no one would like me anymore. I do that at least once a month in D&D, and I see the eye rolls.
I do it all the time, and people seem to like me for some reason.
You're the DM. That's different.
Even when I play other games. But, I did enjoy the rate of play. I will say, and I think this is more our personal experience, but is what I have to base off of. Towards the end, I felt like things kind of weren't as satisfying for me for some reason.
Yeah.
It does seem like it doesn't have as much of a direction in it, and well, that's the intention. It's the game's greatest strength and greatest weakness, I think, is that because there isn't any general direction, the ending can be less satisfying. Because the way that it ended for us, because it's on a timer essentially based on how many dice you have, it was hard to wrap things up in such a way. I feel like if I did this second time with more experienced players, it wouldn't be as big of an issue. But if you're new to it and you're not as used to that happening, it does seem to get weird towards the second half, the Act 2.
I will also say, because, once again, it's very open-ended, a lot of the scenes that we each did, some of them were longer and some of them were shorter. There was no consistent like amount of time that we allotted to it. So I do feel like we had a couple of scenes that kind of ended a little prematurely, looking specifically at the Bruno having their head clocked over like
Byron.
2 minutes into their scene. Byron. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's fine.
I was trying to make sure you had done everything you had before I did anything like that.
No, it's
But
okay.
it seemed like that's exactly where people were expecting me to go with it.
Yeah, no, and that's where it should have gone anyway. It ended how it should have ended, but I would have loved another scene, you know?
Yeah. There was another options in how to end things where you list all the dice you have. You still go by the aftermath table, but you would explain like you go this dice and this is one ending. This is the continuation of that. More
Okay.
and more. That was, but to sum things up, that's just did the one group of things instead of and you going by each dice you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some had less, some had more. So
Good to know there was another way of ending that.
yeah.
Well, Ian, and I guess Nick also, being the two people who have purchased the game, how would you two rate the price?
So $25 for a physical copy and $15 for PDF.
Yeah,
That's
it's
you can't really. It's hard to beat that with the exception of free.
yeah.
I mean, this is one of the more expensive indie games we've gotten in a while. What was Upwind?
Upwind. So I kind of errata. So Upwind was baseline about 40, and then when I purchased it, it was about 20.
Okay.
So I think either it got more expensive or I got it on a sale.
Okay, because I was
And
going to
there
say,
was-
like, Upwind was $20 and it had a lot more content to it.
Yeah, and then there was also
Like in the
a
way of
sale
rules and things.
when it was going like.
Okay.
when
So then
we were doing
I should
recording.
amend this because I'd given it kind of a mid tier because it was kind of on the higher end of the stuff that we've been doing lately for TTRPGs that were indie or at least not commercially available. Like Fiasco's not like in Walmart and Target, right?
I don't
No.
think so.
Yeah, no. So it'd be more.
I will say that it's going. This kind of goes into extras a bit too, but so the initial book comes with 4 settings, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw 4 in
Four-ish,
there.
yeah.
4 within that range. If you want to get more settings, they have extra. They have a couple extra books. I think they have like 2 or 3 anthologies or something where they have set up another like 4 or 5 adventures, right?
Yeah, there's 3 anthologies, and there's one Fiasco companion one, which has like additional rules and different ways of doing different tilts, different aftermaths.
Yeah, and those are about the same price. And then you have the packs, basically, that they sell for
The anthologies.
Yeah, the anthologies, which are like packs of 2.
Well, I got them individually.
Yeah, I was looking online for the sales, and it looks like they have like packs of 2 for the adventures that come in like $15 each.
Kind of weird because there's 3 of them.
Oh, maybe I could be mistaken, but I was looking through the various
phone.
options. Yeah,
Yeah, there's Fiasco
the
10,
phone.
Anthology 1, Fiasco 11, Anthology, which is Anthology 2, and
Mhm.
Fiasco 12, which is Anthology 3.
I thought I saw packs of almost like card packs that were like 2 adventures each.
It might be a card packs, but yeah, we didn't
I
have
could be wrong then. Yeah.
So Fiasco anthologies are normally $20, are currently $18. I'm looking at Fiasco 1, and I don't know how many are in this, but it says it's volume 1 Fiasco playset, but it's currently going for 18.
That's on Amazon, right?
No, it's on Dragon's Drove.
Oh, okay.
I think that's more of it. The PDF.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the PDFs.
Oh, the PDF is 18.
Yeah,
For the general first.
for the
much
first
for mine.
anthology.
So much
Oh,
for
the
my
first
research.
anthology or the first book?
Well,
if it's just called Fiasco, that's not.
no,
an
it's
anthology.
Fiasco Anthology 1.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
All
Either
right,
way.
So that's the anthology.
It also
itself.
could be that Dragon's Trove is given a little bit of a
Discount,
markup
yeah.
or a discount. Like it's
Amazon
there's
had it
factors with
discounted
anything.
to like 22, 23.
Yeah, there's factors with all this stuff in pricing, but I gave it kind of middling score, not realizing that Upwind was very heavily discounted when you bought it.
But what I was getting at is overall, while it's less expensive for the core book, if you want to have those adventures and you want to pay for them and not steal them from a PDF somewhere, which, I mean, every game has that.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
You will be spending somewhere in the range of probably like 60, 70 for all of them.
Yeah. For all of that, that's
not bad.
No.
I mean, if you compare it to like Dungeons and Dragons, which charges you like $60 a book.
Yeah. And
I'm starting to think that we shouldn't count them. They're like the Mac of...
It's honestly not.
It's hard.
It's hard not to, but...
I know, but I'm just saying, like, they've become like this designer, like, hard to buy into thing now, where like owning the stuff is almost outpricing the people that are enjoying them.
That's fair. They usually set a standard in the industry for less for indie and more for large gaming companies.
I'm just saying they shouldn't.
No, they really shouldn't.
So one of these indies, please take off. Please make this better.
All right.
So the next thing after price was extras. We've kind of touched on that, on the amount of expansions they have, the extra things that the community have made have been great. I really want to play. There's one that's the cheese wheel. Yeah. So it's Cambridge. I don't remember. It's the town in England that they race a wheel of cheese to see who gets good luck in the new year, and I desperately want to play that. There's also one where you're in a pen convention. There's a lot of fun, silly one. Oh, that's an official one?
Yeah.
Okay, I like them more.
And Nut People were. That's where you have.
I think all the ones you showed us were official ones.
Yes.
Oh no, I went on the website originally because I didn't realize
they might have had some of the official ones.
I think they did, but there was also
because I think the pen one was like, here's an extra one in the anthology for special, but you can also get this separate.
Yeah, and the other one that I really liked was Bears All the Way Down. Which it's a take on the story, or is a take on the title of the book, Turtles All the Way Down.
Oh. Okay.
But Bears All the Way Down, you were actually just bears, and I like that as well.
Sounds like Honey Heist.
It was similar, but just like a little Yogi Bear inspired.
Okay. Yeah, so extras is just countless.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
that's a lot.
That's the first time I can confidently put a 3 without going, eh.
They're not unreasonably priced. You can find them everywhere. There's also a lot of fan-made content. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're ever going to run out of ideas for what you want to do for this game.
And there's a way to make your own. There's a guide on that too.
Yeah, there's that's one of the little packs that I saw.
It might have been that then.
Yeah, that was one of them. That's why I thought there was more. Anyway. That does lead us into community, though, talking about fan-made stuff. I did research on this. It looks like... So the Reddit page itself has a few posts every month. There are also posts on there for a extensive amount of Discord groups for this. For a game that's 13 years old, I would say it has a decently sized community.
It's definitely one of those that I'd say has like a cult following. Like the people who like it really like it, and they make it work.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing before, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of it when I first watched it on the show Tabletop, the online show with Will Wheaton, and that's what got me interested. And then, but no one else has really, the other times I played it, no one's really heard of it because they weren't in the know.
Yeah, that's why it's like a cult classic. It's not like mainstream at all.
I introduced it to you.
Yeah,
guys, so.
it's not mainstream, but it's good.
And popular. I mean, it's an award-winning game. I guess it's just a matter of it's not in the zeitgeist for tabletop.
Niche.
Yeah.
I get that too.
I think you all can tell we enjoyed it.
Yeah. I give that a perfect score because I've always loved playing this game anyway.
Yep, I did too. Definitely would play again. It reminded me of all the best parts of like when you were playing as a kid with Make Believe. But it gave you the limitations, so it didn't go too far. Like when you were a kid, you would take it too far. You would take too much time doing things. Like this made it in a concise and focused manner, which was brought back the fun of it without the headaches that it caused.
Yeah, 3 for me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Now here's where I differed.
Would you?
I would not recommend this to a lot of people, at least not in our group, just because it's very role play heavy, and I know a lot of people would not enjoy that aspect. Like, out of the people that I would talk to and recommend games to, I could not recommend this because it didn't have enough to make it where I feel like a lot of people would enjoy playing it. Like, it takes a certain person.
Yeah, I gave it a 1/2 point there.
Yeah, I love it. I know a group of people who would love it, but I know a lot of people who I could not recommend it to just because it didn't have enough.
Well, I give this also a 3 because I like to... yes, and there's going to be people who aren't going to, but I always introduce it just, why not try it? Or I won't push it. I'm like, there's also this. I won't, not mention it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, yay, everyone try it.
Yeah, and it's
Except kids, I guess. Unless you have, a kid-friendly, homebrewed.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people who enjoy TTRPGs would struggle with the concept of it being this open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
So that limits the amount of people I can be like, hey, you should try this thing, because I know that they would struggle. Same with Monster of the Week. I wouldn't recommend to a lot of people for the same reason, because it's too freeing.
Who I would recommend it to are prospective game masters, storytellers, dungeon masters, who want to work on those improv muscles to have. So, you can, in case of character or player shenanigans, and you're able to adapt really well. This
was just a game of yes and.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's...
When I sold this to Will, I told him as a very generic, before I read through everything, it's basically Improv the game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah.
But after that low score, I would definitely play it again. I feel like I would love playing even the sets over again with different people.
Yeah, because even with the same sets, you can have a totally different story.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on what you roll.
It does have a decent replay value. Personally, I wouldn't play this all the time. I would probably once or twice is fine for me. I'm glad I tried it. It's not a game I would play regularly, or if I did, I'd be very selective with the group I play with.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want anyone to feel uncomfortable playing this, because for someone who doesn't like speaking up in a group, it definitely puts you on the spot really hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Of course, I get that. I give this whole personal section a 3 because I absolutely adore it. So I would, because replay value, even in an objective standpoint, with all the play sets and everything, like I'm reiterating, you will find something, and there will be, and you can do it over and over again, different game each time.
So going into our sliding scales,
mm-hmm.
I said innovative 3. I felt that this is something new and exciting, not something I come across very often in role-playing games.
We're twins. Sorry.
Yeah.
I got excited.
I give innovative 2 because it's just, without it, just mass chaos, playing pretend, and just giving some rules. I mean,
yeah,
I guess it is innovative, but
I gave it
improv.
I gave it 3 innovative because of the dice, and how they used the dice was in a creative way that's not normally done.
Yeah. So
I found that to be very interesting and very cool to the creation.
I'm always going to be tempted to do the best of the best because,
Oh yeah, and that's yeah.
But that's why
we have 4 people at this table, and Will, who likes to join in. You can't see, he just gave a big old smile.
Chris, I have to ask.
Yeah?
Classic 2. You're the only person here who gave it classic, and I'd love to hear your take on it.
Okay. So, I'm, apart from the first example that comes to my mind in regards to using D6s to determine your character, which is the D&D 5th edition system of determining your bonds, personality traits, flaws, and I forget what the fourth one is, but it's one of those things. There are a couple of other games that are predominantly used where you determine most of the events with a number of D6s. Escape Triassic Park, which we went over, which is more so rolling based on to determine your success. So I envision this sort of as a lot of sort of in those lines, almost like a fusion between the two, where during most of it, the actual number that you roll doesn't matter. What matters is some other specific trait. So most of the game was played where the only thing that mattered was the color, and then the very, very beginning during setup was the only time that numbers even mattered, and also at the end with the conclusion. So I consider it fairly classic because of that, because there's only almost like a binary system of what is considered success versus failure, or what is considered part of the story, or what's considered important to the story.
Right.
Pog.
Higher scores overall for that. Going into simple versus complex. I give it a simple 2. I think I talked about this a little bit at the very beginning. This game it's not difficult to learn, and it's very open-ended, and I feel like the fact that it's all player controlled and it's all like on the spot is the game's best strength, but also its greatest weakness. Because it's so open-ended, I felt the ending in particular was very anticlimactic compared to all the fun we had leading up to it.
Yeah.
And if it had just a little bit more direction, I feel like it would be better off. And I know that takes away from the very concept of the game itself.
Yeah.
And
it's a hard balance.
Yeah. But it could use just a little bit, maybe even just kind of randomized events that happen towards the like a second tilt almost.
Yeah, I guess
or a more directed tilt. So in our game, for example, we just had the prompt. Someone is looking to do, what was it again? It was someone was looking to...
Oh, it's like, now's your time.
Someone is watching.
Yeah, now's your time. Someone's
waiting for their moment.
But that can be interpreted in so many different ways that it almost doesn't have... It didn't even have very big of an impact on the overall story.
I think we had 3 instances where it was used, and that was with your NPC character, with the oil baron, and then with Mysterious Bartender.
Mysterious Bartender taking over the identity of your character.
Yeah. It did. To me, it did, because of you were... Well, I had to suggest it, but I don't know. You could have just played it, but that one engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that did kind of,
throw off.
It got used.
I think he just means he wants something specific, like a leak sprang in the boat, or something like that, where it's a little
more cooperative between the groups.
Because our characters didn't really meet up very often. Like, it wasn't like we were meant to talk to each other, other than like vaguely being connected.
Actually, with a bigger group, that's probably going to tend to happen more.
Yeah,
because there's more with the
NPCs.
Like, I don't think Fiasco and Byron met.
We didn't.
No, we never touched base other than me just hearing complaints. Yeah. I referenced you as like if other workers were complaining about you tipping them in Monopoly money.
Hilariously, when you did that, I debated if I wanted to like be in the background, like, yes, you have 100 and you have 100. Everybody gets Monopoly money today.
And same with I didn't meet up with Charles the baby stealer either.
Oh yeah.
I was just with Dad and Captain.
That's General Dad Nathaniel Gregory Decker III.
It does make sense though, because both of those 2 characters are the ones
that I was connected with. But it just, I'm used to TTRPGs where we're all interacting together.
And also, it also depends on the scenarios we build.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of. It doesn't take away from it, but it's just something that I wanted to bring up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If we played again, it might come up actually more than
I just wanted to say it in case like someone goes into this game and then that aspect comes up and they're like, oh, that's not what I was expecting.
This I see this play as like a very beginner game, because it kind of teetered off at the end, when usually Act 2 is when all the meat and juice of everything come piling up. Even with the tilt combined in there, it would, and just total chaos and like
I feel like
fiasco.
I feel like we accomplished too much in the first act.
Yeah,
it made our second act kind of lag behind.
Yeah, it's more practice with that than we can
The baby was delivered.
Baby was delivered. Naughty boy got put in icebox.
Yeah.
Once again, I noticed there's only seems to be one outlier with our scores. Complex.
Mm-hmm. I can feel your eyes burning directly into me.
Yeah.
Also,
You have a
you
question.
didn't enjoy it that much?
I admittedly, most of my issues, both the complexity and enjoyment, came from turn order and the actual systems
That's
themselves.
understandable, yeah. You did get the raw end of the stick there.
Yeah. Specifically in regards to complex, the way that the actual system works, where you roll the dice and then that determines your pools of what connections you can make, is a little difficult to get from the get-go, especially considering later on those rules are never used again, or apart from the tilt, which is the only other time that it's used. But it's just a matter of you have the dice which then determine the broader category you're allowed to go for. And then you have the dice that are then used supplementary to determine what specific relationship is done in that category. That you have. So every single category and choice has 2 dice, where I feel like if you just, every person got to choose one of the categories, and the only time that you need to know the number is when you actually build on that category, might have been easier. And I feel like we could have done sort of more interesting things with that. Yeah.
It's just the way I ran it. Okay,
so I don't want to say it's the way you ran it, because that's the way that it was listed in the book, wasn't it?
No. You can... If I did something between you and me... sorry. If I listed something, say I did it between Ian and Brooke, and that was like the first... Like, we just started... Mm-hmm. And it was Brooke's turn, she could have defined it right then and there. I just did it. That's the way I...
Oh, where we do one cycle of the actual thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't think of the repercussions.
I'll say that that's less so the problem about being able to exemplify that on, like, whenever you'd like. And it was more so a problem of the actual system that they used, which is to say, where you have to roll and use one of the dice from the pool. Say, for example, if I wanted to have... a relationship with Will's character, and I wanted it to specifically be one of the special relationships, I wouldn't be able to do that if there were no 6s. Mm-hmm. Or if there were no 6s left. Like, there could be only one cycle. I would have liked it where you could choose which broad category you have with someone else, but the dice would represent one of the specific categories in that broader category.
The dice were also used for the turns, so once at the end of Act 2 there was no more dice in the middle, so it also counts, keeps track of that.
I do kind of get where you're coming from, and I think this, just to briefly go back to recommendations, where Brooke talked about that this game isn't for everyone, and I'd like to think I know you well enough, because we live together to say.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that
positive.
For most of the games you played up until now that I know of are games where you get to build your own character, kind of decide your own fate, pretty much. And the way that the game starts with character creation kind of predetermines not only what you'll be doing, who you'll be talking to, and who your character is. And if you're not able to kind of work with that on the fly, I can see why that would be very upsetting.
Yeah, you want to make your own character with the options you're given, not, what's left.
Leave it to chance.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, because it's literally improv. So, you're just, improv actors don't choose their own, characters and settings and stuff. They ask the audience. In this instance, we
don't have an audience, so we have some dice.
Yes.
We asked for the spirits of the random number generators.
Which was,
but I think also if we had done that thing where we ping-ponged back and forth and went around, you might have had a little more freedom with what your character was like.
Yeah. I think could be easier if there was probably 4 if it was 5, I would start to lose track of who's doing what and where.
This is true. Well, I mean, no. So I'm saying, like, we started with Chris, we'd go around, and we got to Will would do it one more time, and then we go around. So,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if it would. It depends on the person.
What I'm hearing is it's all Will's fault.
I think
Always.
We still were kind of confused with the clockwise order because
Well, that's good.
I think
didn't
I
notice-
handed it to Ian. And
Yeah,
really
and then I
not
didn't
my
notice
fault.
we were doing clockwise for a while.
Or counterclockwise or whatever.
Whatever happened, I was not aware that we were doing it in an order. It just seemed kind of random.
I also think it might have worked if we did it such that every time it was your turn, you exemplified the person, one of the people who was next to you, as opposed to exemplifying someone else.
Yeah.
Because then you would have more control over your own character, even though you would have less control over the narrative as a whole. You would still have a connection between two of the characters present.
Mm. So, anyone have a wrap-up thought?
I didn't write that down. Sorry.
Most of my wrap-up is about the system rules being against the person who goes last.
I have one quick thing. Just this seems like something that leads into being silly very quickly.
Well,
So, just to
Codpiece?
make sure that your yes, codpiece and kibble. Was it kibble? What was the thing you were
It was
Kibbles and
kitty kibble.
Kitty
kibble,
kibble
okay.
was the thing you were feeding people. Okay. So just like to be, some groups are very serious. Like our Friday groups tend to be very serious, but our Tuesday group tends to be more fun and free with their stuff. So just like it's another thing of just knowing your party.
Yeah.
Know your party for your safety rules, know your party for what they're expecting out of an RPG. Like you just, shockingly, you have to know the people you play with.
it's also, with that, we could easily to add like supernatural elements. I could have brought up like, the baby was a mystic baby destined to do this, and it was a wizard reincarnated, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I did want to make the mysterious bartender a ghost.
Yeah, I mean, you could have done that
She
too.
texted me that. I would have totally rolled with that.
It would have been hilarious.
Yeah, I definitely say that when you play this game and you're getting your group together, if depending on how you want it to go out, I would select them carefully. The
Yes,
people you
Yeah.
play
very
this
much
with.
so.
Because it also could get very annoying very quickly if you have someone who just likes to throw wrenches in everyone's plans, which there are some people that's what the fun is for the game for them.
He literally threw a wrench into
He
your plan.
literally threw a wrench at me, but that was because I got given a
A
green
naughty,
die
yeah.
or a black die. We had green dice, which meant it had to be a bad outcome.
Yeah, that was another thing we didn't.
We
I
didn't talk
didn't
about
really,
that. Yeah.
because we're in the middle of things and everyone's paying attention to everyone's others scene, so we didn't really get the chance to
flick the
dice in your
this is
direction.
going good or this is going bad, because you got to tell people if the scene would end well or poorly.
Yeah. So I think, is that everyone? Anything else anyone wants to bring up? As far as my comments, it was what I've already brought up before about the system maybe needing a little more direction. So I'm all set.
Slightly
I'm
more
good
direction, I guess. Not like, because to me that would take out the fun.
Just a tad, like just a touch towards the end, I think, to wrap things up a little faster, or like in a nice little bow would be nice. But I also realize it's meant to be a game where things go wrong and you have consequences. So, I understand. I was just disappointed.
Okay, we need to get Chris food.
So going into total scores, then I gave it a 34 out of 42.
Mine was a 32.5.
37.
23.
Will, do you want to just share what your points were?
I didn't actually take.
Oh, you didn't tally them up. Okay.
That's.
I'm just gonna say he agrees with me. Okay.
Hey, don't worry. The average score was 31.6.
Okay, that's
right.
not bad. That's not bad.
Chris, you're what we call a curve killer.
Hi. Well, I mean, I'm just making sure we don't get too high of a score here.
Well, that's going to happen with every game. Like, the same thing happened when we were doing our 2-for-1 special for Christmas, where
Ian had
Catan
really high,
and Skyfall were in the same time, and we just had people who didn't like different kinds of games.
Yeah. So it really just depends on who's playing. So wrap up.
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you want to know more about Fiasco, I recommend checking out Bully Pulpit Games' website or following them on Twitter. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can find us at Dancing with the Bards on Twitter. You can find us at Dance with Bards on Twitter, or subscribe to our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/withbards.
We hope you guys have a wonderful Fiasco day.
Also, if you want to see our gameplay, it should be up on YouTube. So if you want to see us being stupid, that's your best bet. Okay.
All right, and this is where the outro music plays.
Woo.
Yay!
We gotta get
Goodbye.
outro music. Goodbye.
I can probably make some.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about it.